guys, minions, and welcome back to unMadeGaming. We are here for the fourth and final game of today's 12-hour charity stream. We are a mere $60 away from our $500 goal, which is insane for our first month back. We are here for some of 1980s East Berlin chifuckery. So it should be an interesting time. It's like chicanery, but worse, but more edgy, right? Because that's what this game's about, edging. Or being
and dark.
Edgy. One of the two. Either way, we're here for it. It's the last bit of our 12-hour stream. I've never played this game. It's called Urban Shadows. With me are a bunch of people who are equally as dark and edgy as I am. Clearly, you can tell that. So let's jump right in, do our introductions, and start playing this game before Kit gets any more wine drunk. We'll start with with our illustrious game master, Johnny. Who are you? I start with you first this time. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are we doing here?
Johnny, Video Store Cowboy, and Video Store Cowboy everywhere. You can see me here regularly on Tuesdays, running Unsung, the Emberwind game. Today we're playing Urban Shadows, a sort of dark and edgy game, as it's been described, trademark. Imagine Buffy meets Angel meets Cold War. There's werewolves, there's vampires, there's not a lot of Twilight sparkly vampires, there's a lot of dark and edgy vampires. So that's what we're doing here. Thanks.
Fantastic. Putting this together and convincing us all to be edgelords. Brahms, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you doing here today?
I am Brahms. You can find me here on occasion, but actually you'll be able to actually see more of me if you want to on Arbanelleron's channel on Thursday, and that will be on doing our own Emberwind thing that is not unsung. We'll be doing that. Will be GM'd actually by one of the players in the unsung campaign. That is John Helfers. He will be doing that particular one, and I will be playing in it. And I will be playing a illustrious wizard in our delicious dark, setting of Berlin here.
Fantastic. In a race to beat Kit in wine drunkenness, we have a half glass full of rum. Amanda, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what are you doing here today?
What up? I'm Amanda. Amanda getting on the
what
Twitters.
What up is how you start this. What up?
What up?
DJ Amanda in the house.
It's I'm on. You find me on Twitter. I hang around in Mike's channel for whatever reason. Playing Madfish for that.
It's the harassment. That's why I stick around.
Exactly. I'm playing an Oracle today.
Hell yeah. Fantastic. That being said, playing the drunkest vampire today, we'll go to Kit. Kit, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, my dude? And what are you doing here?
I am Kit. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch as Kit Battlebeard. I am playing Connor McDowell, the edgiest vampire, teeth-wise. I DM on my channel every Saturday. Yeah, today's Saturday. And I play a lovely ex-mobster in a D&D noir campaign Tuesdays over on Iron and Ice.
Hell yeah. With those introductions done, guys, I will remind you one last time, that's not true. This is a charity stream, and we are a mere $60 away from our final goal of 500 this month. Let's see if we can crush that goal over the course of the next 2.5 hours. And with that, Johnny, take us away into... Oh, wait, no, I lied. Johnny, you can't take us anywhere. There's two more announcements. One, everyone who donates is getting a 50% off coupon to Mage Hand Press's new game, Dark Matter, on DriveThruRPG. And at the end of the stream, we'll do a giveaway towards the last half hour or so. And everyone who enters the giveaway enters for a chance to win the hardcover books of Urban Shadows and the expansion Urban Shadows, which are definitely upside down. And Brahms is going to mail those out to you. That being said, Johnny,
10 of 10.
Take us away into whatever hellscape you've developed for this game.
10 pro streamers.
Yeah.
Before we get started, just a couple quick notes for the audience at large. This is a game of darkness. If anybody had seen us play any of the 6 and 20 Blades in the Dark games, you are being forewarned that the players bring the dark. I just use it against them. So there's that. There's also this is powered by the Apocalypse game. We're going to go rules light, so we're not going to be playing with everything. Just so that people know that if we miss something, please harass us in chat, but know that we actually don't care. No, that's not true. And finally, donations, the crit donations are actually the most valuable thing. So folks are going to need them because this game is going to get hard and dark. And with that, we fade in to a smoky, sort of dimly lit club that's mostly empty in West Berlin. The year is 1988. Lee, tell us about Baba Yaga, the club.
Baba Yaga's is a club in East Berlin. It is the exterior looks like a nondescript warehouse, but the interior is made to look like weird Indo thrash, some industrial 80s thrash metal meets old lady hut. So it's based on I think it's Germanic Black Forest myth of Baba Yaga and her wandering hut. So part of it is like pseudo like cauldrons hanging from like bubbling weird things, but it's also like industrial piping and like black leather and someone in a cage. Not sure if it's Willie or not, but they're there nonetheless every time you come here. And it's very loud, and there's lights and lasers because it's the 80s, and why wouldn't there be? And that's exactly what it looks like. And anytime you walk in, you can't really tell if the band is playing or the house music is just so loud, or if there's house music and band playing at the same time, because it's East Berlin, and who's in charge of this place? But that's Baba Yaga's.
And so as we fade in, the four of you find yourselves seated somewhere around the club, and it's dark and empty for the most part. It's before the time that the club is going to open. It's the dead of winter. It's freezing outside. For some of you, that actually seems to be accurate. It's about just after sundown, so about 7:30 in the evening. And you have all been called here based on a debt that you are called to fill to the person who runs the club. Her name is Natalia. Natalia is known to each of you as a human, a mortal, but she seems to know a lot more about the sort of the larger sort of expanse of the world and how dark it actually is out there. And so as each of you find yourself here, I'm going to ask you to describe what you look like and your disposition. You also have your drink of choice, as the bartender behind the bar has been told to serve you, but to give you a moment to kind of collect yourself before you see Natalia. So let's start with Misha. Misha, tell us about yourself.
Well, Misha would be probably sitting at the bar itself. Her hair is long, but you can't really tell it's long because it's the 80s and hairspray. But it's also black. It's not dyed black. It's that spray-in stuff that makes your hair look black. That spray and dye. And it also works as a really good hairspray too. She's dressed fairly 80s punk-ish. So leather coat, leather jacket with the studs. No fringe though. She's not quite that crazy. She's not quite that early 80s. Tight black pants, black army boots that she found somewhere that are scuffed all to hell. A Cure t-shirt on underneath, and a hoodie underneath the jacket because it's winter and it's cold.
And what is Misha's drink of choice?
She is drinking probably a vodka soda.
Okay. Vodka and soda. All right. So as we pull back the camera from Misha sitting at the bar, we find Connor where?
Connor is in a darker corner of the club, probably near the back. He's wearing a dark black leather trench coat almost, covering his vest, his dress vest, with a white shirt and dress slacks, a nice well-to-do tie, and a slightly long, what looks to be haft of a something sticking out of the back of his coat. He's sipping on some red wine, but it looks darker than it probably should.
Is he sort of into the pure, or does he mix it with actual wine? Just out of curiosity.
He usually mixes it with wine if he's in public.
He just has straight alcoholics on tap.
Perfect. And so as the camera sort of pulls back from Connor's dark corner, we focus in on Alexander. So tell us a little bit about Alexander.
So Alex would be probably on a second floor if there is one in Baba Yaga's, and he would be at his own private table sipping scotch, not vodka, sorry. He is Russian, but he's developed a taste for scotch. He has long, wavy, shoulder-length hair. And it's not typical of the 80s style. It would be slick back, kind of pomaded, really nicely coiffed. And then he'd have an immaculately trimmed beard. And then also a three-piece suit in this case. So he looks very well-to-do. And also he is wearing a heavy canvas duster that he wouldn't actually be wearing it inside the club. I think it would be probably beside him on a chair or something like that. And resting beside him in the chair that he's in, you see a rather ornate cane with a wolf's head sitting beside him.
And Connor is drinking what distillery of scotch?
I have to say what scotch. Sorry, Johnny, I forgot who I was talking to.
Exactly.
So, in this case, I think it would be like similar to like in our day, I'd say in the Shan something kind of nice and peaty, something of that nature, because he likes the smoke and the heavy peaty flavor of a good scotch.
Okay. And so the camera kind of focuses on we kind of pull back from from Alex as we're kind of focusing on the wolf's head on the top of his cane, and then it turns and pans to Lee. And where do we find Lee?
Probably what causes in this cinematic view here, what causes the jerk of the camera to come over is you hear this weird boing, this electronic buzz that just sort of happens, followed by, almost as if breaking up the edgelord party we have inside the bar, a as the guitar goes live on the stage. There's no one here besides the rest of you, but there's a guitar on stage because someone left it there. And you see Lee, who is on stage. And if you take Misha's character, that's pretty much what Lee looks like. He has tight leather pants on because what rocker in the 80s didn't? He has long hair, but no hairspray. It's disheveled and kind of messy and falls about shoulder length. He has what looks like a tight trash bag, but you're sure it's not on his... It's a shirt. It's some kind of latex something that looks like a baseball tee that goes about, 3/4 length past the elbow. And as he's on this thing, you see that there is a tattoo on each of on each of his forearms down the bone. And if you look closely, they look like they combine to form one solid tattoo if his arms were put together. That's what it looks like.
And what is Lee drinking?
He's drinking nothing because alcohol doesn't work on him.
He doesn't like the taste at all?
Nah.
Interesting.
It's the 80s. He was straight edge before, and now what's the point?
Fair enough. All right. So the four of you are kind of like seated around. Some of you know each other. Some of you don't. and the bartender behind the bar is just sort of tending and kind of cleaning up and prepping for the club is supposed to open very shortly. You know that the club has actually been closed to have this particular meeting, and so as she walks in, Natalia kind of looks to the barkeep, steps up, has a quick conversation with him, and Misha is able to hear a little bit of this exchange. She's telling him 10 minutes until they actually open, and then she turns to the room and looks at the four of you. She says, "Thank you for coming. I realize my obligations have kept me away from this meeting for too long, and I realize that I called in markers on each of your debts, but this is a matter of urgency, and it will definitely test your mettle. Who here is familiar with," and she pauses for a second before she says a name, and you see based on what she's trying to tell you, it's a little overwhelming for her to kind of mention the name. Who here knows Herbert Brooks? And so of all four of you, only Alexander would actually know that this is an American wizard living in West Berlin, who is considered to be one of the sort of the free radicals, sort of trying to fight the powers that be in Berlin as a whole city.
I know this fool. He has so much want to bring down the system. I don't think it's going to be possible to find him without breaking a few heads.
I'm going to tell you a little secret, she says. I actually work for Herbert Brooks, and you will hold your tone, Alexander, if you don't want more of your debts called in. Ones of blood. She emphasizes that word as she looks at you directly.
He would just glare. I don't think he would respond in this case. It would be a very solid glare in her direction.
My eyes would narrow at that word.
Misha will just lean back against the bar.
Natalia looks to the rest of you, and she says, I believe you all are familiar with Victor. You know, Victor Tikhonov. And as she says that, a flash of memory kind of plays across for each of you. Each of you have had an interaction with Victor. He's sort of considered the unofficial sort of magistrate of East Berlin. You know that he runs things. You also know that he is tainted and crazy. He has an obligation to an archdemon, and he runs the city with an iron fist. If you believe the mortal world presses, the conflict between East Berlin and West Berlin and that of the US and the USSR, the Cold War that is going on, there's a huge focal point going on inside of Berlin as there's frustration over the wall and the politics around it. Those of you who are awakened or of not the natural world, of the mortal world, know that Victor is actually behind the majority of that. And he has actively been consolidating his power as he takes down vampires, werewolves, fae, to consolidate under one rule under East Berlin. And so she looks at you and she says, my employer, Mr. Brooks, he's become aware that Victor has decided to enact the final debt that he owes his benefactor. And Mr. Brooks would like to prevent that from happening. I need you four to come together and escort a package from deep inside the city here, across the wall, and to Mr. Brooks at his home near the international airport. Would you like to, Misha?
Victor is crazy. He's crazy.
He believes that he has found the final offering that he will have to give his benefactor in order to free himself from his obligations, and his power will then be unlimited. To be as capable as he is, to be able to walk the realms and not serve a master.
The amount of my brothers he's killed. I do not want him to be living free of a master.
I agree with you. Connor, of all your brethren, they have suffered the worst. He slaughtered more vampires than I can count. His time here in this world has been longer than any of us really expected. Free of his obligation, he will be unstoppable. There will be no more balance of power here. And she looks over to Lee and she says, "You're the wild card."
You hear another click and a buzz, followed by as he starts the intro to Crazy Train. And then when he realizes that everyone's just looking at him, he kind of clicks it again, and you hear that electric whine as he puts it down, still powered on, and says, "Yeah, whatever. Package over the wall."
I will give you one of those who you seek, promising you
One of my choosing or one of yours?
one of yours.
Well, now I'm definitely in.
And she looks around to the rest of you and says, "Whatever you need, this is not just a debt I call. This is the fate and balance of the city, our fragile little world. We're just going to save that fragile state of rivalries." You see that she's really kind of worked up about this. And she says, "Here's the address." And she steps over to the bar and slides the address over to Misha. And you see that it's a location inside of, deep inside of East Berlin. And she says, "You can pick up the package here." He doesn't know that we know about this particular package or what he's planning to do with it. The longer that lasts, and the quicker that you're able to get over the wall, the better. You all will be, the safer. I will arrange for your passage back to East Berlin, should you so wish it. But you are welcome to stay in the West. And she says, "If there are no other questions, I must open a club."
Is there something you're not telling us?
There's always something not said.
It's a child. It's a most powerful child. Move her quickly, and there will be no harm done to any of you. But be quick.
So we're to be babysitters? Is that what I'm understanding?
She is more powerful than you, Alexander. She is one of the last of the royal line. And when she refers to that, she's talking about the Russian royal line. That was the real line of mortal power for the last 400 years. And that's not the Romanovs, but a family behind the Romanovs. And when she says that,
I think his
go ahead.
at that, because Alexander's been around for, I think it was roughly 260 years, is what I had down, and
Okay.
I think his eyebrows would actually shoot up at that and take note, kind of like a holy shit moment.
Very well then. So we will be able to handle this package, and we'll have to bring it over the wall and do it discreetly, because subterfuge is a necessary thing in this age.
Agreed. Now you must go, unless there are any other questions. I have a club to open and an image to maintain.
The bright side, you guys all have the outfits for it, so let's go.
Alexander would just kind of glare at him again. Just,
this is my job. I have an excuse. And he puts the guitar down.
It's so, as the four of you step outside into the cold, sort of driving rain that is currently falling on Berlin, you can see that the city streets are mostly abandoned. As with every night in East Berlin, those who know that the streets are dangerous for more than just the sort of the secret police, they especially hide indoors and have their wards all over their sort of their homes or establishments. For those that are precarious enough to walk out in it, they know that that others know that those will become victims. And for those that are of the aware world, see beyond that and see into the darkness, where you see, of course, the various vampires and mages and werewolves and fae moving among the streets. We're going to cut to you arriving at a small apartment building at the city center of East Berlin. And as you're climbing the stairs, you see that there are peering eyes coming from each doorway as you pass, climbing 3 flights of stairs. And as you step in front of the door, a sort of weird glow kind of flashes in front of all of you that you can see. It is the visibility of magic in this setting, in this world. Alexander, can you describe to us what a door ward would look like if somebody was to project something? What it would actually look like?
like a door ward. Think of the opening of the Mines of Moria, like something ornate. And the more ornate it is, could come in various forms, right? Because depending on the level of wizardry or magic involved, you're going to have more ornate wards versus lesser wards. So depending on, how well constructed the ward is, think of the Mines of Moria as being like the peak of that, like being a really ornate looking door ward. And the way it looks like a door, but it kind of shimmers and it's above the actual door. But if it's like a lesser ward, it's gonna look more shabby, less ornate, but it's still there, it's still effective. We still have to discern what it's going to be able to do to us, that sort of thing.
Okay. So as you all approach, the door ward just sort of shines and vanishes. And as you're stepping towards it, and this is happening, Misha, what you realize is the piece of paper that Natalia gave you is also glowing. And you realize that it was actually the key.
Interesting.
And so as that happens, the door opens and you see a matronly older woman, late 50s, wearing very drab brown and grays, welcome you inside very quickly. And she says, Natalia sent you?
Yes.
Sent is a way to put it, yes.
She asked us to come.
Did she say anything about the child? What is to happen with the child? It's clear that she hasn't been told that there's been a change of plans, whatever the plans previously were.
Yeah, we're here to take it.
Her. We're here to take her.
Her? Why are you here to take her? She hasn't been put in my care. She's supposed to be safe with me. Natalia said that the wards that the wizard put around my home.
Apparently, she's not going to be as safe here anymore. So we need to take her somewhere more safe.
Victor is going mad. Madder than before. It's no longer safe in East Berlin for anyone.
We're going over the wall.
Take me with you. Please, I can care for the child. Take me with you.
That was not part of the deal, man.
What do you mean, deal? What?
More body. One more body means one more liability. We're going to have to take some measures.
And with that, Johnny, I'd like to. I'd have to channel my spirit because I'd like to attempt to do a mind wipe.
So is this sort of what kind of a move is this?
It's one of my class moves.
It's one of your class moves. Okay.
It says, yeah, it's a class move. When you channel or collect your magics, roll with spirit. On a +10, I hold 3. On a 7 to 9, I hold 3 and I choose one of the lists below. I take a -1 ongoing until I rest. I suffer 1 harm. I mark a corruption. And then I hold. Your hold lasts until you spend it, and you can spend it to cast any spell you have per the spell's details.
Okay, so roll it for me and see what happens.
All right. So 11.
All right. So I'm just double checking. I'm looking at your character sheet or the playbook right now. So give me just 1 second.
No problem.
So it's a memory wipe. Okay, right. All right. So
Memory wipe.
Describe what happens when this then you enact this and what it actually looks like when you cast this ability and spell, and then subsequently.
So essentially, he would have gathered his power on the way to pick up the child, in which case he'd have it in reserve at this point, and then he would have just rushed her at this point. It was a female, correct?
Yes, it was an older matronly woman.
So in this case, he would have rushed her and then just basically almost face palming her a little bit, kind of like a, how do I want to put this? Think of like a, not quite like Spock's mind meld, but probably close to, like it'd be a close palming of the face or similar, and it would be like you would see him just kind of reach back, and you would see tendrils just come out of the person's mind, and then basically coming out and then just gone, that sort of thing. And then what would happen is they would forget some of their short-term memories up to an entire hour's worth.
It's only short-term memory?
It can be, what I can do if I wanted to is I can spend an additional hold. So, because at this point I chose to take an extra hold, so I have 4 in reserve right now.
Okay.
Instead of the 3, because of my bracelet. So in this case, what would happen is if I wanted to, I could spend an additional hold. So I would spend 2 instead of the 1. I'd mark a corruption and put alternate memories in their place.
Okay, so is that what you're going to do, or are you just wiping her memory?
I'm just wiping. In this case, I don't think I need to go ahead and spend the corruption. She's just going to forget an entire hour's worth of. I think that's really all we're going to need is forget that full hour's worth of memory of meeting us and taking the girl and everything up to that point.
So as you're doing this, Connor, you notice a little bit of movement behind the woman, and she is sort of framed in the way that Connor has her, right? Sort of in the door and framed, but you see a little bit of movement, and then you see a head pop out to the side, about waist high, blonde hair, blue eyes. What are you doing?
I'm gonna push past her. Ah, hello, young one. You're to come with us. We're here to protect you.
What are you doing to Mishka?
We're just helping her forget.
But Mishka's my friend. Why are you doing this?
Well,
Would you want your friend to get hurt even more?
You're hurting her.
well, you see, little one, she can't come with you. She's got to stay.
Where are we going?
We're taking you to someplace safer than here.
But why can't Mishka go with us? She's my friend.
We can only take one of you. And if you're to survive, you got to stay strong. Mishka's got to stay here.
I feel like there's a move that needs to happen here.
Yeah, I would like to persuade her.
Okay. And so you're gonna roll heart. You're gonna roll 12. You're gonna roll your heart basically on this one.
Yeah.
Tearing down the walls of heartache. It is the warrior.
Is that from Radio Free West Berlin?
Yeah.
All right. So
partial success.
She's
there.
gonna eat elbow Lee.
What?
Mishka, the little girl says, "But what are we gonna? What are you gonna do with me? If it's not safe, we need to protect Mishka. If she can't come with us, we got to take care of her. We got to do something with her."
I'll send Mishka to my home where she'll be safe.
You're a vampire. I'm not sure that's necessarily the right thing to do. I'm only 5, but Mishka tells me all the stories so that I'll be prepared when I get older. My family's important. So I don't know if I trust you because vampires they feed on people. They make us dinner. And you can see her, she's kind of rocking a little bit.
Lee squats down beside everyone, right? So he's like level with the kid, and he says, "Hey kid, what's your name?"
My name is Alexandra.
Cool. My name's Lee. So here's the real deal, right? So it's dangerous here because it's dangerous here for you. So it's only dangerous for, was it Mishka that you said? It's only dangerous for Mishka if you're here. So if we take you with us, it's not dangerous for Mishka anymore. But if we take Mishka with us, it's still just as dangerous as if we didn't take you. Does that make sense? So you coming with us saves Mishka. If you're not here, no one's going to come looking for you.
Okay, so her response is going to be built on the success that Connor actually dealt with, and you're kind of dealing with the complication that's going on. So Alexandra kind of looks at you and she says, Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But if he can take her memories, and she points to Alexander, then he can put back the pretty lights that was around the door that protected us.
What I will do is one step better. She can come to my sanctum. It's warded, protected. There's many, many books. I don't think that anything is going to be able to get her in there.
Okay. And at that, she just runs back into the back of the house, pulls out a little suitcase, and puts on her coat. And she gets all dressed up. Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's take her.
Your house is a library. My house is a library. What's the difference?
I'm a bookseller.
She's a bookseller. Don't do this.
I don't even have a house.
I don't.
You're a poet.
I don't have throats.
It's Alexandra, right?
Alexandra, yes.
Alexandra, do you know we were coming?
Yeah. Mishka doesn't like it when I figure things out.
Can you see things like I do?
She kind of looks at you, and she reaches up with her hands just to kind of touch your forehead.
I'll lean down too.
What does she see?
She'd probably see me in the bookstore. At a plain table, another shot of maybe my point of view at a table. There's runes carved in it, and then actual like rune stones spread around. Maybe me as a child, like silently trying to explain something that I had seen to my parents or whatever.
And she pulls her hands back and she says, "That's a neat place. Can we visit that? I like that place. That place is neat." And you see her rocking a little bit.
The bookstore. You'd like to visit the bookstore?
Yeah, I like books. Mishka reads to me all the time, but then I take some of the older kids' books, the ones that let me do this. And she reaches out, and you see a little bit of a light spark, sort of like bloom out for just a second. And Alexandra would know this as a very sort of rudimentary, what would essentially be a cantrip, but it's the kind of thing that you teach children for magic when they're being schooled, and it just kind of poofs out and then it disappears.
Oh, that's a neat trick.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to show anybody, but yeah.
Oh, how about we keep that trick under our hats?
Okay.
And you can show me all your tricks when you visit me at my bookstore. Okay?
I'd like that.
I would like that as well. I offer her my hand.
And she reaches up and she says, "Okay, I'm ready to go now."
Okay.
You promised. And she looks over at you. You promised, Alexander.
She's got you there. You did.
He would
promise.
nod. He would nod.
So as the six of you, because I'm assuming you're taking Mishka to Alexander's sanctum, begin to make your way down the stairway, you hear a car pull up outside the front door, and you hear some doors open and some harsh words being spoken.
Back door. We need a back door. I don't like this.
You go, and I immediately pull my sword out of my back.
Okay, so is Misha taking Alexandra and trying to get out in
Yes.
some other direction?
Yeah.
All right.
If there's a back door to this building, then they're heading out that way.
I think Lee goes
Okay.
with her, but he like stops for a second and just like gives a look to Connor, like you can't just carry a sword. around. That's the look. That's what the look says. And he just like looks at you, and then he's like, I don't have time for this. And he turns and goes with Misha.
And then you see Alexander. You see what he does. He pulls a sword cane out from his wolf's head cane.
You guys are so
And then you see, on the other hand, he's readying a spell.
We have the Highlander and Doctor Strange here. Like, let's go.
Wait, Vampire Highlander and Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Russian Doctor Strange.
What about Mishka? Where is she? She's just kind of in that daze still from the mind wipe, so she's very susceptible to suggestion at this particular point.
Mishka, come on.
And Mishka just kind of moves back with the two of you, and so we're gonna transition and split the party here real quick. All right. So for Misha and Lee, you make your way along the bottom floor and find yourself coming out towards a back alley. The back alley is mostly deserted, but it's also covered. It's sort of like a back alley tunnel inside of this. So the apartment structure just kind of is built over this alleyway that kind of is under, and there's like trash bins, and it's big enough for like a vehicle to be able to move through, but it's not so big that like it doesn't feel a little claustrophobic, especially in sort of the humidity and sort of the darkness of the rain. As you kind of step outside, towards one end, you see, towards the left, you see sort of an open way leading out onto a street and possibly the next alleyway. Towards the other way, you see a car that's sort of parked down that side, and it's whatever the equivalent of an East, German sort of, cheap automobile that the police would drive. Imagine the, whatever 80s movie you're thinking of at that particular point. And so you find yourself on the street, and Alexandra goes. She looks down towards the right and she says, "Not that way. Those guys are bad."
Are there actual people that way?
You don't see anybody in the car, but that doesn't mean that you don't see anybody in the car. You definitely, given that it's night and the sort of the darkness and everything else, you can definitely perceive additional things out there. You just actually don't see them. You don't see them out in the open, right? As you would, right? They're hiding if they're down there.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Lee looks at the kid and says, "All right, kid, which way?"
She points to the left. She's like, "Okay, let's go that way."
All right. And then he looks around and realizes they're all adults, and he squats down and says, "You want to ride?"
Yeah.
All right.
And so she jumps back up on top of you.
And he's now piggybacking the child.
Nobody's done this before. This is fun.
He got tiny legs, man.
And so we're gonna cut to the stairway and towards the front entrance, and bursting in is two individuals dressed in sort of these dark three-piece, or not dark three-piece. They're dark suits, wearing hats and overcoats. One has what looks to be a long stick, and Alexander, you recognize it as a wand, and the other has a gun, sort of pointed at in as they're coming in, and they burst in, seeing the both of you, gun and wand, sort of move in your general direction at the same time. What do you two do?
I'm immediately attacking the one with a gun. I can't do much against magic.
Okay, so
I've got a question.
I've got an answer.
Just, we're in the same scene, or have we moved scenes?
What do you mean?
As to when I was channeling previously, have we moved scenes? Just because that's a question I want to ask, because I need to know if I'm have to re-roll to expend power, or would I still hold on to the 3 that I have holding?
I would say that we're still in the same scene, so you can hold on to that.
Okay, fair. So
Connor's moving in to attack the one with the gun. What is Alexander doing?
Alexander is going to head and conjure elements, I believe, because he's still holding one. So in this case, it's you conjure the elements to strike out at your enemies. Spend 1 to use unleash an attack with your magic as a weapon. So it how close are we? I should say, Johnny, as well to these individuals.
Oh, you're about 5 feet. I mean, it's going to be close quarters combat. Alexander, sorry, Connor.
Quarters? Okay.
Yeah, Connor's sword is going to be just perfect. In range for this kind of a thing. So you're going to be able to do some damage too.
Perfect. So in this case, I'm going to unleash with my magic as a weapon.
Okay. So let's go ahead and we're gonna resolve this one at a time. Connor, I want you to move in and make your attack.
Wait.
Describe it to me.
I am going to, as I move forward, slash down on his arm so that he drops his gun.
Okay.
That he can, in theory, no longer attack.
Okay, so he's actually holding up. He's kind of up, and he's moving in with the gun. The other one's moving in with the wand. The wand is one-handed. The gun is actually a two-hand kind of a thing, and it's whatever the East German or Russian equivalent of a semi-automatic pistol is. And so, go ahead and make your attack as you kind of come in.
Cool.
And that move should be I believe, an unleash. Yeah.
Oh no!
All right.
Too close. He's too close.
That's bad.
That's very bad.
That's a bad number.
That's a heckin' bad number.
It is a heckin' bad number.
Yeah. So that's a super miss. That's a miss.
All right. So you come in. Describe the miss as you're kind of coming in and how that kind of leaves you in a position, and that's going to describe what happens next.
So I think I just miss the gun and trip and fall into him, maybe. Yeah.
All right, so you trip and you fall in, and as you do that, it kind of jostles him and pushes him back, and the gun goes off. And you feel a sharp sort of burning pain in your shoulder, your left shoulder, as this is happening, as his as the gun just, the bullet just kind of travels through, and you realize that it's been treated with something that would actually affect you as a vampire. And it burns, and so you're kind of struggling there, and you're feeling a little bit weakened. So you're going to take faint harm. So you're going to take 1 level of harm. And so for Alexander, Connor moves in, struggles with the individual that's got the bull, or the gun. And that attack goes off horribly, and you hear the shot fire, as you can see that the one with the wand has sort of sidestepped it and is still sort of swirling his wand up in the air, and you can see the power sort of coalescing around him as you see he's about to focus something. So go ahead and unleash or use your special move.
So I will go ahead. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if there's a special move thing or if there's because I'm just trying to see on the sheet. I want to make sure I'm hitting the right dice for that.
Right, so it would be a blood attack, right?
Blood.
Yeah.
Unleash with blood. Okay, so that's what I wanted to make sure. Yeah, super miss.
How do you have a -1? Just out of curiosity, what's the story there?
I literally have a -1 in blood. So if you notice, it's on my sheet, it says -1. So unless I don't know how, I think I literally rolled snake eyes or something. I'm trying to see how the dice rolled on that. Yeah.
I'm really sorry about that. That's horrible.
So I literally, literally rolled a 2.
Jesus. Okay. So as you do that, describe to me what happens when your unleash and your elementalism spell doesn't go off like you expect it to. What does it look like?
I think what would happen, I honestly think what would happen is he would be going to ready it, and then it would he would go to fire it and then get distracted by Connor, I think, getting shot through the arm. You'd hear the gun shot through the shoulder. He would get distracted and it would backfire like into the ceiling or possibly, you know, into the surrounding area.
So as that sort of energy, elemental energy, just kind of goes up and it crawls along the ceiling up towards the stairs and just sort of coalescing, you see that the wizard with the wand just sort of takes it all in and kind of swirls and makes an attack towards you, just throwing it sort of all, in your direction, all of this sort of coalesced energy. So.
Yep.
This feels like an escapist situation here. So.
Yep. So I'd roll an escape under blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
Oh, goody. That's super. Let me see here. No, that doesn't work. Whew. Well, I succeed partially.
Okay, so. You get to choose 2 from the list. They are: you suffer harm during your escape, you end up in another dangerous situation, you leave something important behind, you owe someone a debt for your escape, or you give into your baser nature and mark corruption. So because you got a, well, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Because you got a partial success, you get to choose 2 of those. I'm going to let you make the choice, and then we're going to narrate them together.
I think I will go ahead and give into my base nature, because I think at this point he's going to be pissed that somebody's shooting at him, and he's going to take a corruption, and I think he's going to be put into another dangerous situation.
Okay. So narrate for me what happens when you escape this amazing blast of sort of like elemental and, arcane energy sort of coming at you.
I think what would happen is he would dodge out of the way, just jump out of the way. But the problem is with that jump, he would line up directly in the line of where the other one with the gun is, and then I know Connor's currently in front of him, but I think it would be very likely that he would either shoot through him and hit me, or and then Connor or me dodge out of the way, and I would still get hit.
Get hit with the bullet, or get hit with a bullet coming from the other one, or with the arcane energy coming off, or the arcane and elemental energy?
I think it would be a bullet in this case. Like, he would be able to shoot through, or essentially get a shot off where it would actually hit me.
Okay. So the arcane energy you jump out of the way, and the arcane energy sort of flows off to the side, past you, and just kind of goes up and encompasses the entire stairway leading up into the second, the second floor, the second story. And you sort of dodge left, and the blast sort of comes in. The blast comes in from a second gunshot from the individual standing in front of you, Connor, and that second shot actually goes through the same exact hole. There's no other actual damage. The gun hasn't moved, and so it's like blam blam. The first one, just digs through you and digs a hole, and you just feel it searing with pain. And you feel the second one just sort of pass through as it sort of grazes Connor for another faint harm. So you're going to take 1 harm there, Alexander. Just to say this right now, these guys are dicks. I'm sorry that this is going this way. All right, and so
it happens.
The wizard,
We
the same
shouldn't have
wizard.
split the party.
You shouldn't have split the party. That's right. So the energy is just sort of coalescing, sort of around above again on the second floor, as you see the wizard kind of bringing it back. And as we're doing that, we're going to cut to Misha and Lee on the street with Alexandra and Mishka.
Amanda, I just want to point out, the job was to rescue the kid. They shouldn't have split the party. We have the package, and we're taking it where it needs to go.
Yeah.
I mean, we're buying you time.
I mean...
Distractions.
Are you?
Hey,
we're trying.
Both of us have suffered harm in order to buy you time, so...
Yeah. Listen, I can stop a bullet once. It's not great if you keep getting shot.
I clearly can't stop bullets.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So...
You need to study the Matrix harder.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Lee has a child riding piggyback on him as he's going wherever the hell the kid points, right? Because the kid seems to be clairvoyant.
Well, the kid has the same abilities as Misha, but her abilities aren't necessarily attuned in the same way that Misha's are. So, as step onto the street, you begin to head to the left, and the little girl starts to giggle. Alexandra starts to giggle on the back, on Lee's back, and so as that's happening, Misha, you feel overwhelmed with a sense of something new. You see sort of, blood running in the street in front of you, just sort of coalescing and sort of swirling as Lee's step in the puddles of the sort of little, like river that's kind of moving down the center of the alleyway between sort of the two streets as the water is just kind of flowing in that direction. And after a second, you see it sort of, the blood sort of image just start to crawl up Lee a little bit. And you feel something is off in front of you.
No, this is not the way to go. No, something is not right.
Nah,
we have to turn around. We have to go the other way.
The kid said this way.
I know what she says. I just saw you covered in blood, Lee.
Nah, happens all the time. You'd be surprised. Wait.
Please.
Was it my blood?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh no.
That's happens all the time. All right, what way?
So pretty much there's only like back the way we came towards the car.
There's one of two ways. That's right. Back towards the car or continue on forward.
We have to go back towards the car.
Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Because if we go back that way, they're fighting a bunch of guys. If we go this way, we'll be fighting a bunch of guys. 6 on one side, half dozen on the other, or whatever Russian saying that equates to.
Please.
All right, sure. Kid, watch out. And he turns around and heads back towards the building.
No, it's that way. Oh, wait.
I can't go both ways.
All
Alexandra,
right.
please.
But there was a cool fairy that way. And she's like, all right, you go that way. It's boring. I love
Might
you.
not have been a good fairy. She might have been bad.
After we get you to East Berlin, we'll take you to a club. There'll be plenty of fairies. It'll be fine.
Now there's only Patricia in our future, and she just mumbles and starts complaining, and then and so as you the two of you with Plush Miska and Alexandra on Lee's back, as you step out, you realize that the person in the car that you eventually come up to is actually just sort of sleeping there, and you realize that it's part of the secret police, but they're sleeping on the job, so otherwise you don't really see much else. So now you're sort of out of the alley and sort of onto the streets in the city proper. What do you guys want to do?
I guess head towards the wall.
Is he gonna like a dragon gonna jump out and attack me or what? Whatever.
No. He's just the secret police. We're fine. There was Faye the other way.
Just the secret police. Oh, Berlin. All right, where are we going that's safest? Ladies.
We're supposed to go find Patricia. And at that, Misha, what you see is there's a vision of a very beautiful sort of woman in her late 30s, dark hair, brown eyes, all dressed in white. And there's like this sort of shimmering effect that goes on in your head in the background. That you see that sometimes resembles like smoke, and then sometimes it resembles wings, and then sometimes it resembles smoke, and then sometimes it resembles wings. And you know that there is a sort of a hotel close to the wall where somebody by the name of Patricia often operates.
Would I know anything about Patricia?
Only that she works in moving things between the wall, across the wall.
We have to go to the hotel. It's a hotel, and we can talk to Patricia there. She can help us get over the wall.
I feel like I don't have to explain this to you because you seem like you're from here, but like it's Berlin, so.
Yes, and we need to get to the other side of Berlin. We need to get over the wall.
Right, but there's more than one hotel. It's a big city.
There's
I'll
only
say
one.
whatever.
There's only one hotel where Patricia is, silly.
Yeah,
gosh.
There's only one person, but what hotel is it?
The hotel.
It's not the Waldorf Astoria, so which one is it?
It's the Super 8 Berlin, smart guy.
That makes sense. It's Berlin. That makes for the Waldorf Astoria. Let's go. Much faster we had a car, and he's just running with a kid on his back.
I've got her suitcase.
And this guy is following behind.
Yeah, it's got like me
an
by the
elderly
hand.
Berlin woman with
All right.
the head wrap.
So the two of you are sort of heading out of the scene at this particular point, and we're going to come back and focus on Connor and Alexander to the end of their scene. Alexander, Connor, two gunshots have sort of taken off. One digging a hole through your shoulder. The second one just sort of passing through as you hear or Alexander just kind of grunt in as a grazed sort of shot nails him as he jumps behind you. What are you doing now, Connor?
So this is the first time Connor has felt pain in a few decades.
Wow,
At least
lucky guy.
Physical pain. He tries to avoid it. He causes it to others usually. So all of a sudden his eyes just go red, and he's gonna lash out and bite the closest thing to him.
Okay, so that's the mortal standing in front of you.
Okay. So I'm gonna use a class move. It's called Eternal Hunger.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am just going to jump at him, bangs extended, and try and tear out his throat.
Do it.
Or not. God damn it.
You're bad at role-playing games.
You should have followed us.
Clearly.
Should have followed us.
So you reach out to bite on him. And as you do, you begin to drink deeply. But there's a sick sort of feeling that begins to coalesce in your stomach as the blood begins to kind of, come down into your belly as you're drinking. And that's when you notice something really sort of disastrous about this.
He's not human.
Not only is he not human, he's been enchanted to look human, but he's actually something else. And so as you're beginning to kind of drink, you realize that the blood tastes very funky. It tastes kind of old.
Oh, no.
In fact, it tastes really old. And it's cold. The first bite, the blood was just tasting sort of, it was warm, but it was the glamour that was on him. And you realize that you're drinking from a corpse, an animated corpse. And so you're going to take a second level of harm.
Oh, no. Ew.
Now, does he actually do that when he just
he reels back and throws the corpse off of him, or himself off the corpse. Blood down himself.
So the blood, as it's kind of like dripping off of your face, is more like moving more slowly, and it's
globular.
More, it's darker, it's blacker, it's as if it's been, and you realize that it's been like mixed with something else to help animate the corpse. So you throw that back, and it kind of reels back a minute, kind of catches it's itself, and begins to point the gun again. Connor, you see this happen, and you see Alexander, you see that that Connor is sort of just reeling from it and starting to lean against the wall as he's just really sort of in pain, and just dealing with something. You've got a wizard over here just sort of coalescing all of that energy, pulling it from upstairs again and just kind of swirling it above his head. And you see this zombie-like thing, this animated corpse thing beginning to point its gun back at Connor. What do you do?
You hear him say,
Fuck this shit.
and then he automatically, what he does is he takes a corruption move.
He takes a corruption move. Oh, okay. What are you doing?
And it's going to be the dark arts. So when I unleash with magic or a psychic energies, a psychic I'm assuming would be for Amanda,
Okay.
mark corruption to roll with spirit instead of blood. So I get to roll with spirit instead of blood.
And you're marking a corruption as well with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go for
So
it.
I'm at 2 corruption right now.
Sweet.
Are you serious? Wow. That is painful.
Wow, you guys are bad.
This is gonna hurt.
You guys are real bad at this.
Guys, I haven't been hit once.
Same.
Gee, if only those cops were awake.
Yeah. Good thing they weren't.
Right.
So,
Talk your way.
Alexander, narrate for us what this actually looks like when you unleash the dark arts.
So in which case, what he would be doing is you would see his eyes go black. He would start coalescing. You would see it be black around him, like a black energy, kind of similar to like a Dragon Ball Z-esque stance, like when they're powering up. And you would see him go to unleash. But in this case, I believe what would happen is
He'd fall on his face.
I would assume something would, no, I wouldn't assume he would fall on his face. I would assume in this case he'd probably end up taking another harm, or I could see what would happen would be that the other magician would just would redirect his wand and just suck up every bit of the energy that he's redirecting at him.
And that's exactly what he does, actually, as all this sort of dark energy just begins to kind of push out towards, or this dark arts energy sort of is being pushed towards this other wizard. The wizard just instead, kind of instead of swirling around above his head, kind of goes in front and begins to swirl it in a circle as he just kind of takes all of your energy and then just redirects it up above him as it continues to kind of swirl, and then throws something. And you're going to need to roll me an escape the situation there, Connor, because what's happening is all this energy is coming at you all at once, because he sees that the wizard sees that what's going on for you, that you're hurt, and so he's just kind of throwing everything he's got at you with all of this energy. So give me a blood roll for escape the situation.
Figures. Could roll that on the first one.
All right. So this structure begins to kind of form all around you, Alexander. As you are realizing sort of like the spell that he's trying to do, pick 2 of the items from the escape the situation rolls or the options, and just tell me what 2 those are, and we'll kind of narrate those into this scene.
So I think he would go ahead and he would owe somebody a debt for the escape. So I'd assume that would be Connor for the escape.
Okay.
And you know what? He's just getting more pissed, and he's going to take another corruption.
Okay. So Connor,
Mhm.
narrate for me how you're going to help Alexander sort of escape this energy prison that's beginning to form around him from all of this magic that's just beginning to. You're hurting, you're bad, you're leaning up against the wall, but you're able to see this sort of coming at you. What do you do?
I see it coming at him, and I think what I would do is I would pull him out and throw my sword at the wizard trying to cast it.
Okay. Awesome move. Give me an unleash the attack. Beautiful. You're able to grab Connor and kind of pull him out of the way as you, with your other hand, throw that sword. Just narrate what happens with that and what happens to him. It's not going to take him down completely, but it is going to hurt him.
The sword flies through the air, and I feel like it's going to hit him right in his casting hand, causing him to drop the wand. Just long enough to get Alexander out of the way of everything.
Okay, and so when you're doing this, you're throwing your sword? You're not actually just, your sword isn't connected with you still. It's just your hand isn't
It's
out
gone.
on. Okay, so you've thrown your sword. All right, the blade just sort of goes out and sort of impales him a little bit, and then his wand sort of drops from his hand, and all of that sort of magical energy that was forming around the cage, begins to kind of vanish as the rest of the energy, that he was channeling just, kind of dissipates. But as this is going on, you realize that the gun is now sort of pointed right at your head as he's about to take his shot. Alexander, you have an opportunity to save your buddy here. What are you doing?
Yep, I know exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm debating. So, Kid, I want your input on this one because it's affecting you directly. Because I can go ahead and expend 2, because I still have those 2 built up from the previous scene. I have an ability called shielding. When I spend 2 holds, I can provide +1 armor to everyone in a small area, possibly including myself, and it lasts until the end of the scene. And I can stack multiple uses of the shielding at once, but I would still spend the 2 and I would give you +1 armor, or would you prefer for me to launch something to try and take him out, or, maybe melt his gun or something?
Probably melting the gun. Getting rid of that gun would be better.
All right. Okay. So in this case, let me see.
Come on, Rob,
I need to
narrate
clarify
first.
something with you, though. Yep. I just need to clarify one thing for you, Johnny.
Okay.
Is this gentleman considered an NPC?
Yes.
Okay. In which case, I'd like to invoke another corruption move because I'm going dark side super fast in this game. And I would like to use Upon a Pale Horse. So I mark corruption and speak the true name of an NPC in the scene to inflict 3 harm on them.
Wow. Okay. So describe to me what happens when you invoke this sort of this power and this ability, and then the effect that it's going to have on sort of this undead thing as you essentially remove him from the scene.
So essentially what would happen is his eyes would go pure white, like rolling back into his head is what it would look like. And you could tell that he wouldn't have known this individual's name unless he was tapping into his power. So he pulls it from the ether and then utters the name. And what you hear is you hear a guttural scream from this thing as it starts to burn up and dissolve into ash directly from the feet up, moving up to the head until the scream has all but vanished from what it was, from its throat, basically.
Okay. And so that just begins to kind of cause the thing to just slowly lose consciousness and then dissipate and just sort of vanish.
Yep.
And you can see that the sort of the energy that was sort of coalesced inside of this sort of animated corpse just fades off into the ether. And as Connor and Alexander are just kind of looking at that particular situation as Alexander invokes this, Connor, your eyes move towards the wizard where your sword is, and you realize that the blade, as it went in and it caused him to drop his wand, his energy, the blade sort of inserted itself right into into his shoulder, nicking the one of his arteries, and the blood is just sort of flowing from him as he's sort of stuck in the wall there, kind of stand up, and you can see the life just beginning to sort of fade from his eyes as the wizard as well just dies. And you guys are out of the scene. What do you want to do? Well, you're out of the fight. What do you want to do?
I'm going to retrieve my blade and wipe it on the wizard's shirt. Put it back in its sheath. That was
And I'm pretty sure
too painful.
This was not how it should have gone. We need to get back with the others quickly.
Well, Misha was the oracle. I've got no sight powers.
Can you pick up on their scent?
I should be able to track them.
Then do it.
Yeah, let's see if I can do that.
All right, let's look at your abilities real quick and make sure that there's nothing that counts for a vampire being able to do that. And if not, we'll just have you do. It'll be. I guess we'll call it. What?
There's a action move. Hit the streets.
You can hit the streets if you want.
Yeah.
You can also do. Yeah. Okay, that works. You want to do that?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
That would be the closest.
Perfect. Then roll it.
Yeah. Hit the streets.
10. Absolute success. Okay. So tell me how you go about making this happen.
I go back up to the apartment and I sort of just sniff around. Misha, she had a little spice to her blood. I think I smell her.
Was it because of the spiced rum?
To be fair, that Misha was drinking vodka. Amanda is drinking the spiced rum.
Same difference right now.
Yes.
Or should I say, she smelled like potatoes.
But that's racist. That's what that is. That's a wee bit racist.
Just a wee bit racist, yeah.
They don't all smell like that, you know.
So you pick up on her scent. You pick up on her scent. And narrate us to how you follow that scent all the way to where you'll find Misha and Lee.
So I follow it down the stairs and out the back door. Go one way, go back another way, back the other way, and then just keep following it up the street towards wherever they're going.
I feel like it can't take a long time because you have a guy carrying a child and an old woman that we're dragging with us. So like it probably didn't take us that long.
Nah.
So for the mostly Canadians in the audience, I'm gonna do it this way instead.
Mostly.
After a couple of kilometers, you find yourself catching up to Lee and Misha, with Alexandra on Lee's back and Mishka sort of following along, still sort of unsure what's going on, but now more clearly herself than when she was under Alexandra's influence.
Hey guys.
For Misha and Lee, this has been a really interesting experience because the amount of patrols on the street from the secret police have increased, and so it's taking you a lot longer than you expected.
Are they all sleeping still? It's just that one.
That was just that one.
Just that one. Okay. Yeah, so I assume we're like crouching, right? Because Berlin is pretty crowded of a place, so we're probably crouching in like an alleyway, right? And that's you kind of come up on us from that way. And Lee looks back and says, noticing the ample amounts of blood on your persons, says, "Oh, hey guys."
Find some trouble.
They were a little more than
Just a bit.
expected.
Yeah, you should have left like we did. It worked out great. Right, kid?
About your time.
All I can say is you corpses taste bad.
Yeah, don't do that. It's like a bad day.
I feel like shit now.
Don't swirl around the child.
The kid, man.
She'll learn it someday. Don't worry about it.
You holy men gonna be good?
I'm not above biting you.
It'll be just as bad as the last one.
I said bite, not suck.
Yeah. It's the first time for everything. Or second, depending on how you play your cards. Anyway, we gotta go see someone named Patty in a hotel. Misha says it's a Super 8. So, we're headed to the Super 8. Alright.
Let's go.
There's a lot of patrols, so don't start another fight. And he hoists the kid back up higher on his shoulders, and he starts to walk forward. Or I guess creep forward out of the shadows.
So finally you find yourself within sights of the wall. For anybody who doesn't remember, it was a 10 or 12 foot tall sort of expanse that crawled along sort of a 50-foot open area between two sides that were East and West Berlin. On the east side, of course, it was dark, and at various points along the wall, there were sort of observatory stations or places on the top of tenement buildings where there were uniformed sort of military kind of paying attention to it. For Connor, there is an additional sort of overwhelming smell that begins to kind of wave from the wall. And it tweaks your nose at first as you get closer and closer. And you've been through the wall, you've been across the wall a couple of times. But as you get closer and closer, that sort of that smell just really begins to really kind of set your hairs on the back of your neck on edge, as you realize that you can smell even in the rain, you can smell sort of the sweat and sort of grime of that collects on the fur of werewolves as they're patrolling the expanse between the two walls. And as you arrive at the sort of the hotel, and you arrive at the door, you can hear that there's actually howling, and it's what sounds like an attack as somebody is trying to get across the wall and is being taken out by some ravenous beast. in the middle of sort of that 50-foot expanse. And so you find yourself at a door, and when you knock on it, you are allowed inside and shown into what appears to be sort of like a suite of rooms. There are two doorways, one to the sort of the east, or one to the left and one to the right. And sort of in this front drawing room, you see a woman sitting at a desk, sort of writing on pieces of paper. As the person who lets you in just welcomes you, says, kind of gives you a motion of just a moment, and then disappears into one of the room. And as that person disappears into the room, you hear a popping sound. Where are we? What's this? Is this Patricia?
What kind of popping sound? Like
it sounds like bubble wrap popping.
Okay, that doesn't sound.
Exactly. That's exactly the type of sound that you hear.
That doesn't sound evil. Fine.
Are you sure?
No.
Have you never met somebody who has like a weird fascination with bubble wrap?
I mean, who doesn't? Lee looks to the kid and says, "No, this is the hotel, right? This is not the right. This is not our place, kid."
I can't see anything. Maybe Misha knows, and you can see that Alexandra's starting to get a little tense.
Oh, is Misha normal yet? Or sorry, Mishka?
Mishka has returned, but she's just
Mishka, Meat Shield.
Mishka.
What was her name?
Meat Shield. That's it.
So yeah, he scooches the kid around. You know that like the awkward jungle gym child when you pull them around from your piggyback to the other side. And he kind of walks her over to Mishka and says, "You know what, kid? Here." And he plops her on the woman. And he says, "Just stay safe, just in case. She'll keep you calm or whatever. And do, I don't know, matronly things." Hey.
You can see that Alexandra is starting to get a little upset, and Mishka is kind of consoling her. But Mishka is also a little frightened. For Misha, the woman sitting in front of you is coalescing with some sort of weird arcane energy that you can't even begin to describe. And because Alexander's not here, I can't actually describe what a wizard would see. But for Connor, this woman is bright as fuck. Like, she shines like a fucking beacon of tasty good. And so she, is just continuing to write. No, she's not dead. This woman continues to write in the book in front of her, and you can see that she's just sort of, beginning to just, page after page, and she's just continuing to write. Doesn't ever acknowledge that you're actually in the room.
I'm just gonna close my jacket, pull out a hanky, and just wipe myself off and tuck it up and just.
And you see, as you're doing that, you see her hand kind of, the woman's hand just kind of point out, heading into the direction towards the door to the left.
Cool, thanks, lady. And Lee just nonchalantly walks towards that direction.
So is this the same lady that I saw in my vision?
Yes.
Patricia.
Huh?
She raises her hand like this as she's writing. You see her, she's writing. She raises her hand, goes like this, and continues to write. And then her other hand, as she goes back to writing, points at Connor and points to the door. As Lee arrives at the door and finds that it's a bathroom.
Oh, because you're gross.
Says the dead man.
Yeah, but I'm not bleeding everywhere.
I am also not bleeding.
He's just covered in other people's blood.
Yeah. You can clean up.
No, I'm bleeding everywhere.
I know.
Also, he'll go get cleaned up.
I go in there and I come back and I'm wearing a completely new shirt.
A whole new suit. You just had it like a tiny zipper. Like a spy capsule. You just added water. It's like pressed suit.
See, here's the thing. You're with a wizard, so...
It's true.
Don't need your magic.
Damn.
So what would happen is, well, Connor would sit there. The wound would be bandaged and everything, and he'd be like, just poof. He'd literally snap his fingers like Oprah and just be like, poof. Whole new suit happens.
You get a new suit. You get a new suit.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't use magic to buy new suits.
I mean, I would.
Right, I would.
Connor wouldn't.
I would.
And so as Connor returns back from into the room, you see that Patricia kind of puts her pen down and kind of looks up. And as you do, as you see her for the first time, you see that her eyes are really strange. They appear to change color. They do this sort of kaleidoscope thing where like there's multiple colors in them, and then they come to a solid blue. And then they go back to this sort of kaleidoscope thing, and they go to a red. And so this is how it kind of works. She looks to Misha, and they turn blue. And then she looks to Connor, and they turn red. And then she looks to Lee, and they turn pink. And as she looks back towards Alexander, there's a real conflict of color going on there for a second. Flopping from sort of a dark color that you can't really identify. It's almost like black, but it's not quite black because there's a little bit of shade there. There's a little bit of a sort of a lighterness, and then it coalesces to a yellow. But it keeps shifting back and forth. And then she looks back to Misha, and her eyes go back to blue.
That's a neat trick.
I'll bow to her.
Tools of the trade, my dear. Tools of the trade. Why are you here?
Is that like a mood ring?
More like a perception thing.
Nice.
We need to get this girl across the wall. If you can help us.
Well, that's my job, dear. But why is this child so important to travel across the wall? She looks like a child of the East.
No idea.
She is very important for, let's just say, she's important, and Victor wants her.
What was the lady's name in the Baba Yaga?
Natalie or Natalia.
Alia.
What is her situation?
Natalia?
Yeah. Like, what do we know about her? Like, if we basically my question is like, if we drop her name, is it like oh no, it's a bad person, right? Or is this like she's like a neutral party?
You know her as somebody who is sort of a middleman and power broker, moving things around. She doesn't have necessarily one affiliation, but she did drop that she works for what happens to be one of the sort of the biggest wizards on West Berlin, Herbert Brooks.
Right.
So she claims that's her affiliation. She claimed that was her affiliation. So
is this like Herbert the Good Witch or
pretty much?
Okay. Yeah. Then he would when Connor speaks up and says that she's important and Victor wants her, he says, and yeah, Natalia told us to bring her over the wall, and she said we needed to come see you. And he points to the kid.
Really? That's interesting. Child. And at that, Alexandra looks towards Patricia, petrified, and then looks away. And for a second, Misha, you get a flash of a vision indicating that there's something going on here. Like there's something that the child is afraid of that she's seeing in her future.
Okay.
But you can't tell. You hear a scream in your head and you realize that it's Alexander's.
I will go over to Alexandra. I will ignore everybody else, go over to Alexandra, and kind of I will hold her hands in mine.
Okay.
And I want to try and see what she knows about it.
Okay. All right. Is this an oracle move?
Let me see. Yeah, it'll be skim the surface. When I touch someone, I can read their surface thoughts. And with like a 5-year-old kid, you know, everything's on the surface. So
Pretty much, right. Okay.
okay, first roll. Woohoo!
Nice. All right. So
I
skim
get
the surface. You get one of those.
I get
those
one of those, yeah. I guess what is she thinking about right now?
She is absolutely petrified because to her, Patricia represents a scary monster. And what she sees as a scary monster is someone who takes her out of her home. And when you as you kind of press and you're thinking about that, that means to Alexandra sort of the mortal world. And Alexandra is afraid of being taken out of her home. That's the sort of the overwhelming impression that you get from her.
You don't have to worry. Please. Don't. We will try and keep you safe.
She wants us to go to the other place. That's how she does what she does. She did. I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
You're in great danger if you don't.
But there's more danger there. There's more danger there.
Can you show me? What do you know about the other place?
And she reaches up at that point and just kind of, puts her 2 small hands on your head. And this is what you get in response. There is this sort of chaotic vision of green and this wonderful sort of smelling floral kind of a thing. But every time you see something move, it's in a blur and it's foggy and it's sort of, out of sync with everything else, and things move incredibly fast. And there is one sort of dark piece that's sort of there that's just sort of this like reddish black sort of swirling kind of a thing. And for a moment, a face sort of comes out of it, and you see that it is that of Victor as it kind of fades back in. And she takes her hands off you. No, I don't. No, they're. He'll get me there. He'll find me there. He'll find me there. And from behind, Patricia says, "The child is not wrong, but it is worth the risk if you want to go the quickest."
Alexander, the thing about the future is it's always changing. It's never, ever set in stone.
But that's not what Mishka taught me. Mishka taught me, and you hear Mishka say, "Hush, child, it's okay. It's okay." No, you taught me that my visions come true. They always come true.
They can. That is true, but you can work to change them.
How do you? How is that possible? I read a book and it's always the same. I was told that these things I see in my head, they're like books.
Not totally. If you look at the book, you can tear out the pages.
If you tear out the pages of a book, it'll never be the same ever again.
You can put the pages in different orders.
I'm gonna crouch down at her level.
Okay.
Listen, young one, if you stay here, no matter what, you will die. You will not live past the summer. If you go across the wall, you will have a longer life. You can change what you see there. You can do something about it.
But you can really change the ending of a story in a book.
I have many books. All of us, except maybe that one over there, has books.
I don't have books.
You can change the ending of a song. How's that?
I make them up.
Yes.
You can write your own book. Choose your own story.
Choose your own adventure, if you will.
They're the best books.
she at that she says, "Ooh, that sounds like a fun book. Can I have one of those books? Do you sell those books at your bookshop, Misha?"
Lee looks at everyone and then looks at the kid, and he's like, what are you books? And you guys are just talking in circles. Kid, what if we go with you? Do you want me to protect you, or do you want me to fight the bad guy? You pick.
I mean, I want to kill Victor as much as the next one. But we will protect you.
Yeah. I'm asking for me. You pick, kid. So, Johnny, mechanically what I'm doing here is I'm using a drama move, because why wouldn't I?
Of course.
I have a drama move.
Mike.
because you're Mike.
Yeah, I have a drama move called Intimacy. When you share a moment of intimacy with physical or emotional with another person, ask them if you should be an agent of justice or vengeance, which I've translated to kid terms. If they say justice, ask them how you can relieve the burdens they carry, and take a +1 ongoing to actions toward that end. If they say vengeance, mark corruption. So protection is protect me.
Justice.
Vengeance is kill
Right.
the other dude.
She looks at you, and she's been crying, and she kind of wipes at one of her tears, and she looks back at you and she says, "Protect me. I don't want you to die either." And she reaches out before Connor can actually move, and Connor, this sort of flash of light kind of coalesces around her hand as she touches you, and she heals your harm.
Which one?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, once was enough, kid. Hop on. He turns around.
And Patricia kind of is just sitting there watching this exchange, and she says, "The child wasn't wrong. It's dangerous. But there's also a cost. Who's going to pay?"
What do you want?
I will pay the cost.
Oh. It's not as simple as one debt. I deal in favors, not debt. You're all going to owe me a favor, including the child. Passage is expensive. And at
I will
that,
take the child's favor.
you hear a pop. And behind you, somebody appears. And they're holding a package. And you see Patricia kind of lean back for a second and motion that direction. And the person begins to walk, and they pop again. And they vanish out of existence holding the package. This kind of magic is expensive. I'm sorry, my dear. Each passenger on this journey must pay their own debt. They must owe me that favor. I may never call on you. It's just simple as that. Sometimes and she kind of starts flipping through a book. I mean, Alexander the Great, he never paid his debt. He lived his life and he was fine. And then she kind of flipped through. Oh, yeah. Cleopatra, she never paid her debt either. I needed nothing from her. But and she kind of flips back through. This gentleman, Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, he kept traveling left and right all across the world, and he still owes me, but that's another story I have to collect later. So sometimes you never have to pay, sometimes you do, but everybody owes me a favor.
You met the mighty Shakespeare.
Will and I go way back. We were drinking companions for a while, but then he wrote that silly play about fairies, and he just got it all wrong and insulted my brother-in-law by using his name. I mean,
you drank with the bard himself.
Yeah, he's not that good.
So what you're saying is he's still alive?
Sweetheart, do you think that anybody would let him pass from the mortal realm?
Oh, I need to meet this person.
I mean, if you want, I mean, I can introduce you, but that, of course, will be a separate journey. You're trying to just get across the wall. I mean, you could just try your chances with the werewolves. I understand that there's a mortal working with the wolves at this point. He's kind of.
We will talk after this. I don't need them. I don't need fleas.
Misha kind of turns to Connor and goes, "Imagine what a signed first edition would go for."
I am not going to sell one of those.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Don't worry.
So Alexander
you're uncultured, and you'll stay that way.
Right. Your music is really good, though. I like it. Don't ignore what he says. He's just a vampire.
He gives you a wink.
Meanwhile, Alexander wouldn't be paying too much attention to the conversation. He would be busy eyeing Patricia. And I think I'd want to see if I could put a face to a name and if he would recognize her as a fae.
Okay, so she's not actually hiding that she's fae.
Okay.
She is being very, very open about the fact that the things that she is exhibiting is all fae.
Okay, fair.
If you want to put a face to a name, you can definitely treat it almost like a you could figure out what she's referring to when it comes to sort of the way that travel works for her business.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give that a shot. So I partially succeed.
Okay, let me look at this real quick. So put a face to a name. On a 10+, you learn something interesting. On a miss, you don't know anything. Okay, so you get a sense that what she's referring to is something that the Fae talk about when they talk about there's more realms than just the mortal. But beyond that, you also get that travel for mortals in the non-mortal realms is incredibly dangerous and toxic. And based on did Misha describe what she saw inside of Alexander's head?
Maybe she.
No.
She would have in hushed tones, kind of away from, so Alexandra didn't have to hear it. She would have.
Okay, and so based on what Alexander or what Misha described, Alexander, you would know a bit more about sort of the vision that was described as being one of the primary realms that the Fae, go to and from. And by reputation, you would know that the rules there are very different than the mortal realms rules for everything, from magic to the way that spirits work to the way that the undead work.
Okay, so I think he would look at Patricia and say,
You might think you've fooled these rubes, but if you think you're fooling me, no, I don't think so, madam. If we're going beyond the veil, and we're bringing this young one beyond the veil, you're going to owe me a favor. We're going to strike a deal, you and me, right here.
I'm sorry, sweetheart. Did you think that you were going to put me in debt?
yeah, because I was going to say that I was going to use, I didn't get a chance to say, but I wanted to use a drama move.
Okay.
When I get to mark corruption when I strike a deal with someone dark and powerful.
Oh, okay. All right. So a corruption move, you strike a deal with someone dark and powerful, mark corruption. All right. So she looks at you kind of
Risky.
with a certain amount of amusement. You want my favors instead. You do. You don't want a deal, a balanced deal with me, my dear. I'm performing a service. I'm helping you get where you need to go. But if you're wanting something more, please tell me what you want, and I'll tell you my price. I don't think you're going to like it, though.
That's fair. Here's the deal. If things go south and the child gets put in danger, then what you're going to do is you're going to go and you're going to take the child to safety. So that Victor doesn't get his hands on her. No one gets his hands on her. She goes to the Fey Realms, and then you bring her directly. There's no go-between. We'll act as the go-between for now, but if things go bad, here's the deal. She gets to where she needs to go. No questions. It happens, and I'll pay the price.
She looks at you and she says, I don't often deal in mortal matters. I've lived too long to know that mortals and their machinations are fleeting. You're a youngin', 200 some years old. You have no idea what absolute power and responsibility really is, but fine. Here's what you'll owe me if this happens. You will owe me 1,000 years of servitude. And you will do exactly everything I say to the letter, or you will suffer for twice as long.
Done.
She's magically just sort of, whirls something in the air, and a contract begins to kind of roll out from where her hand was and just kind of roll over to the floor, landing at your feet, Alexander. And as it rolls into the finish, you see that there is a quill just waiting at the end. And there's a line for you to sign.
Okay. Alexander, being Alexander and being Russian, wouldn't just sign it. He would stab his hand with the quill, make sure the blood was welling up, and sign it with his blood.
Not your first blood contract, I see. You've never had a Fey contract instead. It's okay. You're young. You'll learn.
Lee sidles over
Perhaps.
to Connor, and he kind of nudges him in the elbow. He says, "Hey, so you like books, right?"
Yes.
Yeah. He points over to Alexander. He says, "Mr. Sinister over here is going to take your whole deal, the whole dark and brooding thing. I don't think anyone likes that guy. It's because it's a book. Mr. Sinister is it's a character. It's okay. It's all right. You can't read them all, I guess, right? That's cool." So he scooches back over towards the kid.
Misha will lean over and go, "I understood the joke."
Nice.
Now, if the rest of you are ready for your favors,
Yeah.
we can get started.
Is there any way I can take her a favor?
This is not how these work.
I will owe you 3 for her 1.
She is a child of power. You do know
Which
who
is-
she actually is, right?
No, but I know she is of power, and that is why I don't want her to owe you. I don't want her to owe anyone.
My dear, my deals, my favors never hurt. They do make things difficult, but they never hurt the person that is requested of.
I'm gonna lean over to Lee, point to Alexander. I bet that hurt.
And she says, and she looks at Misha, and she says, "All right, I'll prove it. I'm going to have you. You're going to agree to give me a debt, yes?
Yes.
Or I am going to ask your favor right now before we even make this merry adventure, to take this journey. I would like you," and she reaches out for the first time, and her hand just sort of all of a sudden is on your shoulder, but she's still seated there for just a second, and she turns you. You can't figure out, her arm doesn't look any different, but you feel her hand as she just sort of turns you, and she points you to Alexander, and she says, "Tell me what's going to happen to him. Is he going to break his contract with me?" And Misha, I would like you to tell me whatever you think is going to happen for Alexander.
Tell false prophecy. Tell false prophecy. I didn't say anything.
Misha will walk up to Alexander and kind of do the to him. Boot to the head. And just a glancing kind of blow, and kind of hold on to the top of his head. Although she's short, so she's probably standing on her toes. She will close her eyes. And
What does Misha see?
Yes, I want to know what she sees, and then I will.
Oh no, this is entirely up to you. I want you to tell me based on what Alexander has done in the game. I want you to remember that Alexander has, I believe you've earned 4 corruption. Is that correct? 5 corruption. He's got 5 corruption. He has made, some really interesting choices. So what does Misha see for Alexander's future? Does he actually end up breaking the contract?
He will try to break the contract, but he will not succeed.
Okay.
After he tries, he will work for you just fine for the rest of his contract.
Now, see, that didn't hurt, did it? It might be painful for him, but it didn't hurt for you.
I want her to remain as innocent as long as she can. That's all I ask.
I will only ask of her when she has reached an age where she understands what is being asked of her.
Misha's going to turn to Alexandra.
Who's on Lee's back.
Yeah. Do you understand what we need to get you over there to get away from Victor for now?
Oh yeah, I like using. Mishka doesn't like me to use my the things that I can do, but I really like to. I like telling stories about what I see. I like making the lights appear. Sometimes, you know, I can smell funny things in the dark. Like I can smell those dogs, those weird dogs that are just kind of running in that big, you know, behind that wall. Yeah, I like the things that I can do.
So when you get older, she's going to ask you to do something for her. Are you okay with that? You might not like it at the time, but you will.
But I like using the things that I can do. They make me feel magical.
Which
you are.
I'll turn back to Patricia. Are you able to give this mortal, give Mariska a job? Give her safety.
And Patricia looks over at Mishka.
Sorry.
And she says, and she looks over at Alexandra. And Patricia motions Misha over. And she makes the whisper. And she says, that one is very sick. She's not long for this world. She was made to survive for as long as she stood in the care of the child. But she cannot survive traveling like we do. And she will not survive long after the child is gone. There is a poison that is eating her body. It is one of those natural things that mortals must face. I'm really sorry. I'm sorry. God damn it, Connor. God damn Zoom chat.
Damn it, Lee. Or Kit. Brain. Sorry, my brain.
I didn't even do it. I was trying to make a comic book joke, and no one get the reference, and then I get it.
I got the reference. I was laughing, but
Got a kid on
Alexander
back.
wouldn't have gotten the reference.
Misha and I got the joke. Okay.
Perfect. That's all.
I got the joke. Connor's the classics.
I mean, classic comic books. Hello.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
only
it's
came out in
not novels.
1987. It's only a year old.
No, I guess
Damn.
not classic enough for Connor. Misha will lean over to Patricia. And can you keep her comfortable? Until she dies.
Patricia looks at you, kind of sits back a little bit and looks at you, and she says, you are not what I expect in this world. You are more kind than most. I'm sorry that you see the things that you do.
It's a blessing or a curse, depending on who you ask.
I wish for you to only to have blessings, child, but that is not what's meant for you.
Never is.
And she sits back and she says, "Don't worry, child. I'll take care of your friend Alexandra." And she kind of snaps her fingers, and immediately something pops in. And she says, Mishka, please drink this. It will keep you warm while you wait for Alexandra to return. Alexandra, you will see her again soon, I promise, Patricia says to her. And at that, as she finishes, she looks at Misha and meets her eyes. And you know that by the time that you're gone, Mishka will be no more.
Okay.
Now, if we're all ready, the journey must begin. Time is growing short.
Please.
We're ready.
And she looks around and she says, please all just stand right there. And she kind of gathers you all together in a group. Alexandra sort of seated on your back, and she says, you only have a short journey, but it is more painful than you can imagine. Be quick, or you will be lost. Goodbye. And she snaps her fingers. And in a flash, Patricia is gone, but the room is still there. But the room is vibrant as there are sort of all kinds of flora around you. And it is bright and vibrant. And there is the feeling of sunlight on you, even though you aren't sort of, you aren't in any place where the sun could be there. And for Connor, this is the first time you felt a warmth from the sun or a sun-like feeling since you were mortal. But you can't place the source of the energy, and you don't feel any type of pain or harm coming from it.
Connor hisses a little bit.
You would.
Don't be weird.
You hear a sudden calling into the distance, as sort of a loud, sort of dissonant roar that kind of has a sort of a Doppler sort of echo effect that kind of passes through. And as it does, the entire room sort of shakes just for a second, and the light outside grows a little dim for just a moment, as you can see out the window. When you look outside, as you kind of see this, you see East Berlin sort of spread out before you, and you see the wall, and you see these sort of flashing lights kind of flashing back and forth, streaking back and forth in that sort of open area. But there is a pathway, there is like a bridge that is lit, an energy bridge that just kind of walks all the way across between the 2 points. And it starts from just above you at the top of the building.
I think we need to go. That's our cue.
Lee looks over to Alexander and says, "Are you sure you don't want to say something dark and ominous?"
Why would I want to do that?
No, Alexander. No, kid, not. You missed the joke, kid. It's all right, though.
All right.
We have to hurry, otherwise we're going to die.
There it is. Okay. And Lee steps on the bridge.
So as you the four of you kind of just make your way up towards the top as Alexander is sort of seated on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. You make it to the top, to the roof. And as you do, you hear that ominous sort of roar with a sort of a Doppler kind of an effect. And you realize that it's centering from somewhere in the central of East Berlin, and it's just kind of fanning out. And it's like a wave of energy. And the sound effect just sort of, kind of overwhelms you. And as it does, you feel a little sickly, for a second. Taking in the world as a whole, Connor, you are seeing the sun for the first time, but it is not the same sun. There is something very different about it as it kind of shines brightly in the sky. And you are seeing all kinds of flash of lights, all of you just sort of, moving across the sky, on the ground below you. When you take a second to think about it, you realize that these are the movements of mortals in the mortal realm. And occasionally those sort of blurs sort of coalesce and become fully formed, and you can see them. And just for a second, you see a werewolf just sort of running between the two, walls that make up in the expanse that bridge sort of crosses. And as that sort of sickly sweet, sensation, comes across you as you hear the Doppler effect and you hear that sort of noise, that dissonant noise. In the distance, you hear a couple of other howls, and you see what looks to be these, four-legged sort of blurred monstrosities just making their way across the rooftops, heading towards you. Across the bridge, on the other side of the building, on the other building on the other side, there appears to be some sort of a portal, and you can see a small figure just sort of waving at you, and just kind of waving you this way, and just sort of waving at you, and waving this way.
This is on the other side of the bridge we're at?
Yes, this is on the other side of the bridge, on the other side of the wall, essentially.
Yeah, Lee like puts a foot on the bridge. Is it solid?
Mm-hmm. It seems to make sort of a thundering sort of sound for each step that you take.
Yeah, so as soon as he puts the first step on there, like a few taps, he hoists himself up on there so both feet are on, and he starts to slowly, cautiously, because at the end of the day, it's like a tightrope walk, right? Walk across this thing.
The snarling sort of sound coming from those four-legged sort of creatures are moving towards you. They're coming really fast. You hear their gallops as they're kind of coming across, as Lee and Alexander begin to make their way across towards the other side.
I'm gonna once again unsheath my sword and put my back to the bridge.
Okay. What is Alexander and you
start?
Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm going to start channeling to gather everything. So I got to roll with spirit.
Well, when you start channeling here, we're going to do this a little bit differently because the rules for magic work a little bit differently here. There's magic all around you, so you were able to actually channel. To make an actual to make an actual attack of any kind, that's when you're going to make the roll. But you were able to gather as much sort of magic as you can here because it's sort of just floating in the distance. What is Misha doing here?
Okay.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Still muted. Got it.
Hey, I was on 3 windows ago. Misha will follow Lee and Alexandra, but she's gonna try and see what might happen. I'm just trying to figure out what that might be.
What move that might be?
Yeah.
So for Lee and Misha and Alexandra, as you're beginning to make your way across, you hear the sort of the weird sort of lightning effect sounds that come from each step. And as you do, you realize that the blurring motions that were running in the space between the two walls are beginning to slow, and they're beginning to look up, and they're starting to slowly form into actual images as you see that there are the wolves that are there are just kind of looking up and paying attention as you can sort of see them track you as they hear the sound of you walking across the bridge.
Okay. Are they in this plane or in the...
No, but they are clearly aware that you are moving across the bridge.
Okay. We need to go.
So what's the move that you're going to use, Misha, to tell the future?
There's a corruption move I can see. Can I use a corruption move?
Sure.
Okay. I will use Eye All-Seeing, mark corruption, and suffer 1 harm to have a vision about the current situation at hand. Ask the MC a question, and they will answer it honestly.
Do it.
Okay.
What would you like to know?
I would like to know if the werewolves know where we're going to be coming out of the Fey realm.
No. As you kind of look into this, you can see that they know that something is going on, that something is moving between the barrier that is essentially the East Berlin Wall and the West Berlin Wall. in that sort of expansive space.
Mhm.
But you cannot tell. You can tell that they will not be able to find you. That they will be fanning out on West Berlin's side, but they will not know exactly where you come out.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So Lee and Misha are making their way across with Alexandra. Connor and Alexander, those things are starting to bear down on you. And at this point, Lee and Misha are halfway across the bridge. What do you guys want to do?
I'm slowly stepping up backwards onto the bridge. Just want to make a barrier for the others to get through first.
Okay. What about Alexander?
This time what he's going to do is he's going to use shielding, learning from his previous fight. So he's going to go ahead, and if he's channeling, he'll channel his 4 and expend those 2 to give everyone +1 armor in a small area.
Okay. So I'm going to say that that's actually going to be able to extend to Lee and Misha as well as Connor as you're doing this. And the first of these creatures sort of makes its way onto the building and just sort of slams down, 4 paws. And for the first time, you can see that this is some sort of corrupted, sort of mongrel kind of dog, sort of weird, sort of black, coalescing smoke and sort of imagery just kind of around it. As you can see, it's snarling and its red eyes as it moves in to make an attack. Connor, it's coming for you. You can do one of 2 things here. You can either escape the situation, or you can counter it with an attack.
I'm gonna try and escape.
Okay, roll it. Partial success. Okay, so there are 2 situations that happen here. You can suffer harm during your escape, or you can end up in a dangerous situation, another dangerous situation. You can leave something important behind. You can owe somebody a debt because of your escape, or you can give you can give into your base nature and mark corruption. So you have to pick 2 of those.
I'll take harm.
Okay, so take a faint harm.
And I will give in to my baser nature and mark a corruption.
Okay, so the hound, this hound thing sort of just comes in and kind of lands and then reaches out and just kind of bites at you, and you step back, but you get a graze of this thing, and there's sort of this weird sort of smoky bite on you, but it's just a slight bite as the thing just sort of smokes and dissipates, giving you an opportunity to actually attack this thing.
Cool. I'm gonna go eyes red and bear down with a stab with my blade.
Do it. Wow. Okay.
What are you even doing?
Okay. You kind of swing.
Apparently, I'm terrible with swords.
And instead of actually making it happen, you sort of pirouette a little bit, and the thing just sort of kind of pushes back and doesn't continue its press for an attack. But you clearly miss, and you're starting to lose your footing a little bit. But you're a little off balance at this particular point. Alexander, do you want to do anything in this situation? You enabled protection for these people. What else do you want to do?
In this case, he's going to go ahead and lash out with elementalism.
Okay.
So he's going to roll an unleash with elementalism, and what's I going to say? I think, yeah. Are they close quarters? Are they in a it would be a +3 harm or a 2 harm? Would you say?
It's close quarters because Connor just got attacked basically.
Okay. So, wow,
that is just really bad.
that's again
You guys are
again. I rolled a 2.
Wow, Johnny's a robot. 10 out of 10. Robot Johnny. Cool.
That face though.
Right? He said you guys are rolling bad. So you're going to feel bad the whole time that he's a robot before his internet drops. It'll happen any second now.
I feel a little bit bad. Yep.
You should feel bad. So we get to the other side and we see the person in the portal. And then,
Trying.
He's trying to say no. We fail.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
What did you guys hear last?
you guys did really bad.
We made it. Everyone succeeds.
We all live.
All right. So Alexander, you miss. The energy coalesces out, but there is you kind of misjudge your step as you're doing this attack. You're walking backwards across the bridge. You slip, and now you kind of slip and you fall, and you're kind of hanging precariously, holding onto the side of the bridge. Connor is there, just sort of dealing with this attack that's just happened on him. Both of you are again in a bad situation, and we're going to cut to Lee and Misha making it to the other side of the bridge.
Are they just getting fucked up by wolves? That's what's happening right now?
Basically.
Yeah. Visibly fucked up by wolves?
Basically.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Lee feels a little bit bad. Even though they didn't get his joke. And he slides the kid off. He's like, "Hey kid, go with Misha. You see this?" And he points back to the clearly two incompetent people. He's like, I gotta figure that out. You good, kid? He kind of pushes her towards Misha.
Yeah. Don't. You weren't supposed to leave me. You're supposed to protect me.
Yeah, but if they don't stop those things are gonna come over here, and I'll have to put you down anyway. So I'm going to protect you.
No. And at that, she just starts to throw a tantrum, and as she does, she just stomps her foot. And as that happens, the energy sort of coalesces out from her. And you see a wave very similar to. And at that, it knocks, as the wave kind of permeates out, this sort of white energy, and it just sort of knocks the sort of the hound that's kind of attacking her. Or attacking Connor and Alexander. And it just kind of pushes it way far back. And you hear a large yelp of pain as the other two that are just about to make it to that roof are sort of pushed off and are now, falling towards, off the building towards the ground in this sort of this fey existence. You said you were going to protect me. You can't leave. It's not fair.
Kid, nice. And he picks her back up. And he
what's nice? What happened?
I don't know. You did laser fingers and shit popped out, and those dogs went flying. So that was dope.
You used some of your powers.
And he looks at Misha. You did stuff, and that was really cool.
It was really cool. Let's go.
Nice to have kids around. Hey, let's go. And he motions over the bridge where Alexander's hanging there and Connor's bleeding out again. Come on.
I'm gonna try and pull him up and see if I can.
Does Connor have does Alexander have arms of steel? Because the way you made that sound.
You grabbed onto the side, so you're able to kind of pull. With Connor's help, you're able to pull yourself back up. And so, as Lee and Misha are looking towards you in that direction, as you guys are kind of getting yourself situated and starting to come across the bridge, Misha, you turn and you see that there is a dark figure standing in front of the portal.
Oh shit!
The child has summoned me with her abilities.
Oh no.
You need to give her to me and I will let you live. And at that, you see the sort of coalescing sort of dark form kind of solidify into Victor.
I don't think that's going to happen today, Victor. Sorry to disappoint you.
No.
Victor.
And he waves his hand like this. And Alexander, you feel like you're almost teetering off the side again as Connor just kind of grabs you and pulls you back onto the bridge as you continue moving forward. And Victor looks back to Misha. Tell the young man to give her to me, and you all can live.
Hey kid, what's the plan, kid?
She is sobbing into your shoulder as she's just. That's the bad man.
I know that.
That's.
I figured that out.
He's coming for me. No. I told you this was going to happen. This is not going to happen.
Right. No, I said, but am I still protecting you? Or am I going to put you down and kick his ass?
Kick his ass.
Or can you stay with her while I protect you from over there?
You should kick his ass.
Nice.
But I'm sorry.
Misha, go with the child.
I'll scoop up Alexandra because she can't fight, and neither can
I'll
we.
deal with you in a minute, my dear, he says to you.
Fuck you.
Nice.
All right, Lee. He begins to hold his arms out, sort of like, kind of, in a sort of a let's do this kind of a fashion.
So I don't know how moves work in this game, but I'm just gonna wing it and say. So I have a move, a Revenant move called Vigilante. I also have +1 forward forever while I'm protecting this girl. So as long as I'm protecting her, I have +1 forward for any endeavor that involves protecting her. So I have a move called Vigilante. When I go into battle, which I assume is what's happening right now, I roll blood, and then there's a bunch of words, but basically I gain a number of hold, and I can use the hold to do other things, right?
Sure.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll this move, Vigilante, which
Do
is...
it.
I think... Is there a spot you put +1s on the character sheet? If not, then I'm just going to roll this and I have a +1 to it.
Do you think I actually play the games that I run, Mike?
Cool. I'm gonna roll Vigilante, and whatever it is, it's actually +1. So a 14. What does a 14 do? Does it mean I win the game?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, how many holds does that give you?
It gives me 3
Win
hold.
the game.
It gives me 3 hold, and I know that I'm gonna tell you what the hold do, and you're gonna be like, "No, you can't do that." So
I'm gonna. It's the end of the story. Go ahead. Come on.
During the fight, you can spend hold 1 for 1 to A, kill, disarm, or disable an NPC of your choice within reach.
All
Straight
right.
up kill him.
So I'm
Get
going
that
to.
motherfucker.
So I have 3 hold, right? So I don't know how far away this guy is, but one of them is I'm going to cross the distance to any character outside of my reach before they have time to adjust or react. So like you just see him, like he puts the kid down, and then she gives him the go ahead, and then boom, he's like right next to this Victor guy, like right in his open arms, right? He just pops up right next to him. And then I'm going to redirect an attack within reach. It says to another character, or else to nowhere. And he basically grabs his arms, and like he's either gonna hold them up above his head, or you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna use the kill, disable, whatever thing, because it's 10 o'clock. And I basically take his arms using whatever spell he's channeling, and I just quickly like appear next to him, and then bash his own hands into his head, hoping to trigger whatever he's using on himself.
And so as you do that, it comes. You kind of bash his hands into his head, and what happens is that there is this sort of bright sort of energy that instead of kind of pushing out towards you, kind of pushes in towards his head, and you watch his head sort of go weird, like as if you're watching it on an old carbon tube or television, and the picture sort of goes weird and wobbly, and it just looks kind of funky, and his like image just sort of begins to to shift and sort of fluctuate, and he looks at you and he says, This is not the end. I'll be seeing you soon, Lee.
Yeah, but I can't die, so.
Neither can I.
Well.
As he just sort of, coalesces and just sort of becomes really wavy, and then just sort of vanishes, and that energy sort of just dissipates around, and it comes up in a big cute like sparkles, and it's just sort of like this magical sort of rainbow thing at the same time. And you hear from behind you, Alexander goes, "Wow, that's pretty. Can you do that again?"
Probably. I mean, I'm pretty good at this exploding dudes thing.
Just wait till the next time that he fights him.
That was amazing. Oh wow, that was cool. Can I sleep over at your house?
Yeah. And he looks to Alexander, who sassed him, and he goes, "Hey, watch your step. I don't want you to fall down again. Come on, kid." He takes a step towards the portal.
And so the four of you step in, and that's where we end it.
Nice. That was cool. I like this. That was definitely a weird, wacky setting and one shot.
I love it.
I love it. So cool.
Brahms, I'm sorry I shit on you, but I love you. I figured, I was like, you know what? Everyone's playing super dark, broody characters. I was like, I gotta add some levity to it. And one of the options for like my demeanor is like detached. So I'm just like, fuck it. Like I already died once and I can't die again. So like, what's there to be worried about? Like, oh, I die again, and then my bird comes over and it's like, get the fuck up, and I just get up and I go do stuff.
It's total classic 80s action hero stuff, so perfect.
Well, like literally one of my drama moves is if you die, someone knows how to revive you and you're not dead anymore. That's a literal move that I have.
That would be the wizard.
Yeah, that's anyone.
Like,
anyone can know how to do it. Yeah. You're just anyone who views your corpse with supernatural senses knows you're still alive and how to bring you back. So literally, I die and any of you go, oh, boop, wake up.
Pokinos.
Yeah. So, guys, that was our Urban Shadows one shot. I know Brahms wanted to run this. So, Brahms, I think this was your first time playing it, so let's jump over to you first. Brahms, who are you? Where can we find you? And what did you think of this one shot?
You can find me on Arvin Elrond's channel on Thursdays. I will be doing our own Emberwind thing, and that isn't unsung. That will be run by one of the players in the Unsung campaign, John Helfers. And you will get to see me along with a few other writers and or our peers on that channel on this coming Thursday on the 23rd. Now, as for this
24th.
game, I love this game. 24th, you're right. Sorry about that. Thursday, yeah. So this particular game is one of my favorites. I like the dark.
Next Thursday's the 31st, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The day before
At any rate,
possession of the house.
10 out of 10. We're hashtag pro lifers, right? We're pro people who know how to live.
Hash brown pro streamers.
I know dates. Psh. At any rate, this is no kidding. This is one of my, by far, I've seen this played, and now having played it, the one shot was great. I want to go back to Berlin again. I want to see more of the city. And I want to, experience more of this and see if Alex can actually get the hell out of his contract. Because reasons. I do want to see if I can get out of my contract. Nice. And also, I was really tempted, Johnny, the last minute to have her write in a freaking loophole that says if we finish, my contract is null and void. But I didn't get a chance to say that. I was like, son of a bitch. So, at any rate, but yeah, I love this. I want to see more of this. Oh, I was tempted. I was super tempted. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I didn't get a chance. At any rate, I want to do this again. I did notice an error. I'll mention it to you, Johnny, if you haven't caught it, that we did earlier on.
Sounds good.
But
mention it off screen.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, definitely an awesome system. And I really actually enjoyed this because, I went super dark, super fast, so fast. Probably faster than I should have been. But really, really good. I enjoyed playing the wizard, and I've seen other people play this. And the world building, if we make this into a campaign, I think could get really, really cool, especially given the time frame and the setting. Nice. But anyways, that's for me. So you can go ahead and pass it on, Mike.
Nice. We'll hop over to the other dark and broody gentleman here. Kit, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What did you think of this one shot?
I'm Kit. You can find me over on my channel, Kit Battlebeard, both there and on Twitter. I do DMing for D&D, as well as world building. And you can find me also on Iron and Ice, playing a cool D&D noir setting where I play an ex-mobster gnome named Spades Malone. So you should totally check that out. And I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was super excited to play this when I was invited to. And I'm stoked. I've been eating up, you could say, a whole lot of vampire mythos, and didn't really get to use my seductive talents as a vampire, but
Yet.
that's okay.
Yet.
But yeah, it was lots of fun.
Hell yeah, man.
Lots of funny off-screen and on-screen moments.
That being said, let's jump over to my companion in kindness. Amanda, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what did you think of this one shot? Super muted.
Hashtag person.
Well, I do this for charity streams.
You're back.
That's like the only time I do this. I'm unMadeGaming. You can find me at unMadeGaming pretty much everywhere. Dun, dun, dun. I had tons of fun with this. It was just ridiculous. Like, these guys are ridiculous. It's fantastic. It's the first time I've gotten to play with Johnny, so I really enjoyed it. So much fun.
Won't be the last.
And speaking of, last but definitely least, Johnny, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? And what did you think of your first foray into the urban shadows?
Video Store Cowboy everywhere except on Twitter where it's VidStore Cowboy. I really enjoyed this a lot. I feel like there's a lot to explore here. I feel like we didn't actually encompass the system as best as we possibly could, but I think for a one-shot time frame and the type of story that we were telling, you guys did amazing. I had always talked about in my head, I'd always thought about you doing this particular story, sort of the idea of crossing the wall. There was actually 3 or 4 different ways, but it worked out so that this one was just, it was sort of the most convenient, and given the pace of the story, it worked out really well. I think each of you were perfect in this particular setting, and I hope at some point we all get to explore it again. So thanks very much, guys, and congratulations, Mike, on raising $500 today.
Hell yeah, guys!
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
We raised a little bit over $500. I think it was like 505 is the last goal. Yep. So because we hit 500, we're gonna do this giveaway. We're gonna pick a winner right now. Pop that right into chat. Runt wins. Runt, if you're here, cool. You don't have to speak up. Runt, I will get with you and figure out how we can get this book to you. Congratulations, Runt. Sorry everyone else didn't get that in there. This is the first of our 12-hour charity streams. We can do one every single month. And hopefully raise just as much money every single time. We are also sponsored. This stream is sponsored, which I forget to mention on all the other ones because I'm a bad streamer. We're sponsored by Easy Roller Dice. And actually, we're going to, as we hit goals on the charity team, we're going to be giving away Easy Roller Dice. I have a pound of dice to give away. I have some brass dice to give away. I have some shiny silver ones to give away, and some sweet-looking gold ones to give away as well. So as we hit some goals, they're going to be higher numbers, but as we hit them, we're going to be giving those away, and it's going to be pretty awesome. That being said, guys, we're going to get the heck out of here for the day. We're going to go show some hot, sticky raid love to Scraticus, who is doing his 12-hour charity stream. So please, please, please go check him out and the entire Scraticus Academy. Give them all of your love. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.